Hi, I'm Mike Henry, and this is my Procreate 4.1 demo for the piece I call Hey Spidey. So this one is maybe a little weird to people. I know that I've had a couple of comments about how this version of Spidey just sort of looks kind of different than I think how even I would normally be inclined to draw Spider-Man. So since the process on this one is really straightforward, I'm going to talk more about the thinking. This video is going to be short because the time lapse is actually very fast on this. So this was just to get the technical stuff out of the way. This was drawn with the fat pencil. The roughs, the mid roughs, and then the final were all done with the fat pencil. So even though it has a little bit of like an inky look at the end, that's really just the fat pencil. In fact, I couldn't remember that, and I went back in and I double checked it because I was like, what pen did I use for this? In general, I don't like a lot of the behaviors of the Procreate pens, and I try to like modify them to get them where I want them to be, and for whatever reason they don't really work out for me. So anywho, let's move right into the thought process behind this. So Spider-Man in this picture is like kind of stiff. The way that he's posed sort of implies that he's just like swinging down, and he's sort of like in this pose, and that he's like this big, just immovable thing that's swinging by, as opposed to the usual like very athletic legs up in the air and all that, you know, just sort of crazy posing, which is the way that I'm usually inclined to draw Spidey. But I don't remember the inspiration that I had, or like why I thought to do this or what, but I was just sitting around one day and I was thinking, yeah, you know what, it'd be cool to sort of do like a more classic Spidey piece, classic in the fact that it feels a little more old. And then I just had it in my mind to have him be like bigger, like his body's like way bigger. So that's why you can see here that his head is actually super small, and I end up shrinking it because I realize I'm pushing everything just like too much, and I just didn't really like it. I wasn't controlling it properly. So you'll see that in a minute. While I'm doing the lines, I shrink the whole body. But anyways, the point is that I had this image in my head of this lankier, heavier Spider-Man, which, you know, it's probably going to be, I mean, it's not the most extreme take in the world, but it might be a little bit of a polarizing take on Spidey, because he's usually supposed to be like really athletic and bouncy, and sometimes he's even depicted as like fairly small overall. And so I just thought that it'd be kind of cool to have him be this heavier, longer, almost stiffer version. I guess you could say it's almost like if it were the 40s and you were doing a Spider-Man live action, and somebody just doesn't have nearly the athleticism to make Spidey the way that he sometimes looks, you know. And so I wanted to keep the fingers long and the limbs long and just keep him all lanky and long. I wanted his suit to be a little bit ill-fitting, just because it's not like spandex, it would just be like cloth. It's similar to my views on Batman. My favorite, like the best way for, in my opinion, to depict Batman is that it's like cloth and leather, as opposed to like all of the, you know, like lycra or even plastic or rubber or whatever. I wanted to kind of do something like that with Spidey here. So I guess you could assume that his like main bodysuit is just like cotton or something, and then he's got like these gloves and boots on that, as you can see on the gloves particularly, they sort of peel up a little bit because they are not skin tight all the way through. So when he's flexing in certain ways, you can sort of see that they're gloves that are put on over to the thing. So that was just the thought. So again, I don't think that it's like insanely revolutionary or anything like that, but it's something that I had this image in my head of this stiffer, heavier Spider-Man swinging, and I thought that it'd be kind of fun to try and realize that. Now, here's a fun fact. I didn't realize the direction of Spidey's little arcs in his webbing. As you can see here, my brain just logically was like, well, gravity goes down, so they probably swoop down, when in reality they swoop up, which I've drawn Spidey a lot in the past. I always look up reference because I'm always trying to be sure that I get the suit right. I think Spider-Man is one of the absolute best designs of all time, and he's the one I hate drawing the most from a costume perspective because of all these little things. But you'll see here I erased them all now, because I drew it all on one layer because I was so confident. I'm like, it won't be a problem, and then I completely screwed it up. So that's my highlight for this video, that I completely screwed up the direction of those webs. So they go, I now go back through and I just put them all right back on again. I kept the layer though as a reference, and you'll see it's low opacity there, just so that I could keep all the spacing right when I go back in to redo all the loops. When I was a kid, I used to screw up Spidey's mask all the time. There was something about it where I couldn't get the webbing right. I couldn't just make that whole thing look good for whatever reason. So actually, when I went to draw Spidey here, all those memories came flooding back, and I'm like, oh man, I better not screw up this mask. So the name of the game here is Simplicity. After coming up with this, the way that I wanted it to look, and then it wanted it to be retro, it was like, okay, well, we're gonna go with a darker desaturated blue for his blue part, and then the red can be somewhat saturated, but it's gonna be a little on the lighter side. So here I'm using the symmetry tool to do the multiples. You can choose how much symmetry you have. I thought it'd be a fun way to come up with a graphic look for Spidey sense. So that's how this was done. And then it's very geometric, and I just decided to leave it that way because I thought that it added to the graphic look. For a second I thought, hey, let's put in a building or something. So I used the perspective tool to put in, I wanted to put a big graphic building in there. And although it's nice because it gives this weird worm's eye view thing, I just felt that it took away from some of the graphic nature of this. I really wanted it to just kind of pop and be this, Spidey on this yellow field kind of thing. So I add a couple of other little things in there, texture and halftone and things like that, and then at the very end I just crop it using just Apple's Photos crop. I didn't do it in Procreate or anything. So there's no hot tip there to share. But anyways, this is the final piece. It's straightforward and simple. I hope you enjoyed the thought process behind it. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing, and thanks for watching. And if you're looking for me on the internet, these are the places where you can find me.